How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tales from the Darkside. This is Season 2, Episode 12, and this one's entitled Monsters in My Room. This is from December 22nd, 1985. So a few things there. December 22nd, just a few days before Christmas. Also, the end of December, so this will be Darkside's last 1985 episode. And episode 12 of 24. So this is the halfway point for Season 1. Anyway, this episode's directed by James Sadwith, who we've seen on the show a few times. Where also, this episode stars Greg Mullavey, Beth McDonald, and a young Seth Green. That's always cool to see a celebrity before they're famous, you know. Last season, we had Kristen Bale as a little kid in the episode A Case of the Stubborns, and now we're getting Seth Green as a little kid on here. That's always funny. But anyway, the teleplay was written by James Sadwith, the director, in a solo writing credit. In this episode, we get little Timmy, who's a young nerdy boy, and he has a stepfather who wishes he would be more manly and toughen up, but Timmy isn't really the tough guy kid, you know? So there's a little bit of a hostile environment at the home between the kid and the stepfather. It's Christmas night, and Timmy starts to see monsters in his room. And I do want to emphasize the title, Monsters in My Room with an S, because there's a lot of monsters. There's the boogeyman in the closet, the thing under the bed, toys will come to life, and that's just part of it. There's a few more crazy surprises in store, because a ton of stuff happens in Timmy's room. It's quite crazy, but of course, who does he turn to for help? His mom's not gonna believe him, and his stepdad doesn't want him to be that weak little kid afraid of monsters in his closet. So Timmy's in a tough situation, to say the least. Now, a few thoughts on the episode. First of all, Christmas night. That's pretty cool. I thought I had already covered all the Christmas episodes, because the description didn't mention that this was a Christmas episode, and it was kind of a surprise going into it. So in Season 3, we have Seasons of Belief, and in Season 4, we have The Yattering and Jack, so this would be the first of 3 Darkside Christmas episodes, and that's pretty cool. You know, it's not the biggest Christmas episode, and part of me wonders if they wrote that in when they found out when the episode was going to air. Because, you know, it's kind of like Gremlins, where it takes place on Christmas, but it's not all about Christmas, you know? But still, fun to see a new Darkside Christmas episode. Anyway, with this, you know, you look at it, and you have a young nerdy protagonist, the jerk antagonist, who's trying to say, hey, don't be so much of a nerd, and you're pretty much waiting for him to get his supernatural comeuppance. This very, very standard framework for anthology horror TV. If you want to show someone what anthology horror TV is like, good example to show them. A really good, you know, classic 80s anthology episode. But I do want to say, you know, they do go beyond just the standard formula, you know? You look at the gist of this and you're like, okay, I've seen this, I know where it's going, and for the most part, for a lot of it, you do know where it's going. But this thing with this episode, I think one of its biggest strengths is it doesn't just lean on the framework and don't do anything more. It takes the framework to, you know, sort of just get the story out, but then on that framework, it builds and does crazy stuff, you know? It's not just relying on the anthology horror tropes, it's using those to just kind of, you know, get a quick story out there, but in the story, they want to put wacky and crazy and experimental, cheesy 80s ideas. Like I said, Timmy's room really goes crazy, and they're like, okay, I want to do an episode with this creature in the closet, this one under the bed, I want to do all these crazy talking toys. And I think that's really where this episode shines. Yeah, the story is familiar, but they're using the basic building block to go into crazy, cheesy 80s horror territory, and I really do like that, you know, use the structure to be more experimental in other ways, and I thought that was really cool. And I won't spoil the ending, but it does lead to a really cool place for Timmy's character. And, you know, at Darkside, they always have those ending shots, you know, it would lead to something and then freeze there and the end credits would start. And this is one of those where it ends on a really cool shot, and you're like, okay, this is an interesting place for the character. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So it's A, a good Christmas episode, B, a good sampling of Darkside and basically 80s anthology horror, and C, really does go crazy and over the top with its, you know, just wacky, what could we do that's a haunted kid's room, you know, and just really isn't afraid to go big. You know, I mentioned a few things, but there are definitely more in his room. In particular, one really surprising thing that when it comes out of nowhere, you're like, okay, that's dangerous. But anyway, a fun, crazy episode, really good sampling of 80s horror, and yeah, it's, you know, it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it's a pretty fun wheel, you know? Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and analyze the plot a little bit further. I'll be avoiding major spoilers, so I'll be avoiding the end, but from here on out, I'm going to analyze the plot in a little bit more detail. Anyway, we open up with young Timmy, and he's studying a bug. At first, I thought it was an ant, and I thought it was just perspective, but apparently, like, the mom calls it a potato bug, and IMDb trivia said something like Jerusalem cricket? Whatever. He's studying a little bug in a jar, and he really likes it. It's his pet. He named it Ernie. And all of a sudden, you hear, think fast, and a football flies into the room and smashes the jar, and now Ernie is dead. Who threw the football is his stepfather. His stepfather doesn't really seem too remorseful about it, and even says, hey, what are you doing? Go pick up that mess. Go pick up the broken glass. Which, boy, there's one thing that changed. You know, back in the day, hey, kid, pick up that broken glass. Nowadays, whenever there's any broken glass, because we all see those little tiny glass slivers, we're like, stay away, it's broken glass, let me clean it up. But back then, yeah, kid, you do it. And he even dumps it into a wicker basket trash can with no liner? Whatever. But anyway, this is his stepfather, Biff. Kind of funny for us Back to the Future fans, another Biff. Actually, in this episode, there's one of those Felix the Cat clocks, so yeah, little Easter eggs for us Back to the Future fans, I guess. But anyway, this is Biff. He wants his son to be tougher and more manly, and what is a little boy doing? Studying a bug. He's too old for this. He should be wanting to go outside and play football with me, but he doesn't really want to do that at all. Eventually, the mom will come in, and surprisingly, the kid actually covers for his stepdad. He goes, oh, I dropped the jar. He doesn't try to throw Biff under the bus, which I thought was a little surprising. You know, you think you would say, Dad threw a football and he broke my bug, but he doesn't. And he is more concerned with asking his mom, will Ernie go to heaven? And of course, the mom goes, oh yeah, he's in heaven now, it's all going to be okay. The mother does legitimately love her son and is trying to comfort him and make everything all right. Throughout the episode, we see a few reoccurring motifs. We get the kid's bed is next to his parents' room, and he can hear through the wall. Why isn't he tougher? Why is he such a wuss? You know, so he can hear his stepdad talking about him behind his back and the mom trying to calm him down. And they also do this reoccurring motif where he'll be saying his nightly prayers, and he prays for all these people, and then he's like, bless mommy and my stepdad too, I guess. The first prayer, too, I guess. And then the second prayer he goes, and then bless mommy, only mommy. So yeah, you see the crumbling relationship. It's not a great environment for him. But then we will eventually get to Christmas Day, and on Christmas Day he gets a present from his father and a present from his mother. The father's present is a toy gun with lights and sounds, and he says, just like the one I used to use in real life back when I was in the war. And the kid plays it with it. He picks it up, he pretends to shoot it. He does like the toy, but then the mom gives him the stuffed panda bear that he really wanted. He mentioned this earlier in the episode. And while he likes the gun, he loves the panda bear, and he goes crazy, and he goes and I think he hugs his mom, and the dad's like, why? Why does a little boy like the stuffed panda bear more than the cool gun I gave him? And I do like that they show he did play with the gun. He wasn't just like, he was like, oh, this is cool. But when he gets that bear, that was what he wanted, you know? And you never know why kids like what they do, but hey, he wanted that big stuffed panda, and he was just so happy to get it, you know? Anyway, you then get to Christmas night, and they did actually hint at some of these monsters beforehand. They showed little bits of, you know, something in the closet, but he doesn't see it, or something under the bed, but he doesn't see it. And we do get hints at these before Christmas night itself, which I really did like, you know, building up a little bit of suspense and also introducing the creatures a little bit early. But you get a boogeyman in the closet with a really cool costume. You get something under the bed reaching out, and all his toys start to come alive. The new bear he just got is rocking in its chair, and of course, any toy that had electronic motion, you're gonna get a shot of it moving. Including those, you remember those little birds that would be on like a plastic thing, and it'd be like a fake pet bird, and I think some of them were parrots and they'd mimic what you'd say. It doesn't do that, but you see it move around. Yeah, I think I used to have one of those, but anyway, all the toys start moving, but I won't spoil further what happens, because there are a few more surprises other than just these three elements. There are a few. One that pops out all of a sudden, you're like, gee, that's dangerous. But yeah, this child's room just goes nuts, and there's actually a few pretty good jump scares in this episode. I won't say when they happen, obviously, but I do appreciate when you get a good jump scare in a TV episode. Especially Darkside isn't really known for jump scares, so to see a good jump scare just kind of come out of nowhere, you really weren't expecting it. So props to it for that. But yeah, where does the kid go to for help? No one's gonna believe him. His mom does try to comfort him, sing him some nice songs, but yeah, mom doesn't believe him, and dad is going to get mad if you say that there's monsters in your closet, so he has to figure out what to do, and it does ultimately lead to a good finale and a good final shot, and an interesting place to leave the characters. So yeah, just a good final shot going into the credits. Overall, a pretty good, interesting episode. A good slice of what an anthology 80s horror TV episode is. Really good, cheesy, crazy, over-the-top 80s, just, you know, insanity. And also, it's a Christmas episode on top of all that. So I have to say, this is definitely one of the better episodes. Even young Seth Green showed up, and at the end of the episode, he does get to quote a few famous movies, so hey, that's always cool. So definitely one that I would recommend. I mean, I like most of the episodes, but this is definitely one of the stronger ones. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, it's just a really fun wheel, you know? Anyway, To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Tales from the Darkside playlist, where I've covered every past episode of the show. I also covered the other 2 Christmas episodes, Season 3's Seasons of Belief and Season 4's The Yattering and Jack. I did those early around Christmas time last year, and I would have covered this one had I had known about it. I also did a Season 1 overview and the Joe Hill comic, so this playlist is getting pretty long. If you want to see me talk about more Darkside, you can click right there, and there's quite a bit of it. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.